Evening. Everyone. How are we doing? Early morning, I guess we should be saying. Let me fix this. I'm trying not to fall down the steps. Everybody doing? What's happening this morning? How everybody feeling? Give me a second. Make sure everything is straight. There we go. All right. What's up, people? Give me a second. I'll be right back. Oh, crap. I meant to turn off the microphone. I turned off the camera. Welcome in, guys. We're going to take a little while to connect. As always, positive, uplifting, and affirming. What we want to talk about today, however, something pretty simple. It's about knowing your worth, knowing your value, being able to set it, being able to understand where your worth and value comes from. The reason a lot of people struggle with knowing their purpose, knowing what actions to take, is because they don't know their value. They don't know what they're worth. They don't know what they're worth to themselves. They don't understand their worth to others. This lack of understanding leads to confusion and difficulty. Let's walk, let's talk, people. Welcome in. Today, it is now 12:05 in the morning, January the 3rd, first Saturday of the new year, 2026, people. 2026. The 1 year anniversary of the channel is coming up on January 7th. Started this channel January 7th. Started this process of posting. And now, as we continue to move forward and grow the channel, grow the process, I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to thank you guys for assisting in that process, being patient through the growing pains, and now seeing where we are, help to grow and spread this message of positivity, development, and truth. Hey guys, as always, please check in. Let me know where you're checking in from, what time of day it is, where you are. We focus here on discipline. We focus on the discipline required to fix any aspect of your life. And this is why, before we start talking about your finances, before we start talking about your income, your savings, your investments, let me start talking about your investment in you. And again, are you supposed to know what your work is worth, what your time is worth, what your effort is worth, if you don't know the appropriate value? If you can't set the appropriate value for what you do, then you won't know. So we're going to cover a little of that today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing with me. Thank you for stopping in. As you guys know, main focus is the fixing of the finances. But we can't fix our finances if we can't fix ourselves. Welcome in. Who's that? Dancing? You're doing Christ. I don't know, dancing. I feel like you're kind of overplaying that a little bit. I'm a Christian myself. You guys know. I'm a born again Christian, child of God, a believer in the rapture and the glory to come. As part of that, there's the understanding and the commitment to living by the principles and the standards set forth. But keep in mind, people, you have no idea what heaven is like. Like, we try to act like, oh man, I know what heaven's gonna be like. No, you don't. You ain't got no idea. You can't. How can we possibly have an idea of how wonderful heaven is gonna be? How glorious it's gonna be to be sitting next to Christ? Nah, man, the Bible gives you a glimpse, but it tells you your eyes have not seen, your ears have not heard. You cannot begin to imagine the glory and the wonder of what heaven is. See, it's beyond human consumption. It's beyond the human ability to even begin to fathom it. We draw what we believe to be the closest thing, but all we have to draw from is what we know. Can't begin to imagine the glory of heaven.
You can dream about it. And when you think about it, you can understand how wondrous and glorious it is and rejoice in it. But you don't know. We don't know. And that's the thing that makes it so great, is that we don't know. Not that we do know, not that we have an understanding or even a semblance of an understanding. No, that's not what makes heaven great. What makes heaven remarkable in the concept of life after death and being next to Christ in glory, that thing that makes it phenomenal is that it's unimaginable, that you cannot begin to wrap your head around it. You understand that these bodies aren't even necessary, right? Like the belief that, oh, we'll be in human form. We don't know. We don't know, but we'll be blessed. And that's good to know. Yeah. But John could only make that basis off of what he saw here on earth. It's beyond imagination, but I do know I know it's there. And that's why what I'm telling you right now is knowing your worth. Understand your worth. Understand your value while you're here. I understand my relationship with Christ. I understand my relationship with my Savior. I understand my purpose while I'm here. I understand the goals and the work that I'm doing. Right. And so when we sit down and begin to argue faith, when we sit down and begin to argue whose God is best, like that's frivolous. Why would I argue that? Like, would you go down to the local restaurant or corner store and argue who's got the better wife? Would you argue who has the better, who's got the better children? Right? No, because we're blessed with that. It demeans it to argue it. I understand. I understand that there are a lot of voices, there are a lot of views, but what it really has to boil down to is your life, your commitment, your belief, your love, your walk. Man, religion and faith are two different things. Religion is man's institutionalization of faith. Faith is an intimate thing, especially for Christians, because you have to understand the whole purpose of Jesus dying on the cross, the whole purpose of it was to restore that one-on-one relationship with God and man that Adam and Eve had in the garden. And then when men fell and there was sin, there was a requirement for a blood sacrifice in order for men to continue to commune and worship with God. And there were people put in place whose whole responsibility. Do you understand that the Levites' job was to intercede and pray their entire life so that God would not end humanity? That was their job. That's why we took up tithes, to feed them, to clothe them, to house them, because they were the only thing standing between us and God just saying, let's start over. Let's let's try it on let's try it on Pluto. Like, and so when we understand that was the job and that was the work that they did, then we have to understand when we have a relationship with Christ that it's a very intimate thing. And that intimacy is why Christ gave his life, so that we can return, have that one-on-one relationship, and be able to share and speak directly to the Father. I heard somebody ask one day, it was like, hey man, what would you, if you could sit down and have lunch with Jesus, what would you say to him? Right? And he was like, talk to Jesus whatever I want. And that's the concept that we don't get. It's interesting because faith is much stronger than religion. Too many people get caught up in religion and they start looking at the man. That's why there's so many forms of religion. There's so many different types of Muslims, so many different types of Christians, so many different types of just all types of religions. And there are different ones because we've stopped looking at the faith. We've stopped looking at the relationship with the creator, the relationship with God, and we've started looking at the man responsible for sharing the story, the man responsible, the person standing in the pulpit, the the sheik or the pastor or the deacon or whoever it is. We're looking at them so much that we're not seeing the God. But today's talk is about knowing your own self-worth. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. It's now 12:16 in the morning here on the East Coast of the United States. Thank you for being here. Thank you for stopping in. Do me a favor, guys, as you check in. Let me know where you're checking in from, what time of day it is, where you are. Just go ahead and drop into the chat any of that information, saying hello. Thank you for being here, however. And so, true, we need facts. We need facts about ourselves, right? Thank you so much. We need to have a understanding, and when I'm talking about, do you do you know your worth, right? Do you know your your value? Then we have to start working to make that value evident, right? Because we are here. Like, we're here as humans. We walk this planet, we have relationships, we have friendships, we have loved ones, we have children. Our purpose here is to continue to nourish and flourish this planet, right? Continue to grow it. And so when we are here and we're living, thank you so much, Eddie, for the gift. I appreciate that. Thank you. When we know, right? When we know our value, when we start to understand, and I don't mean just our value in terms of how much money we make, but when we start to understand our value in our place on this planet in relation to others, and how we control that value, how we set the standard for that, how we make the things happen, it changes a lot, man. It changes a whole lot. It change how we behave, how we act, how we interact, how we commune, how we converse, because we start to understand that our value is determined by us. And keep in mind, you may have a high value, you may have a tremendous value, but it's important for you to know because the people outside of you may not know. The people outside of you can't see your value because, trust me on this one, if the person does not have the ability to see the value of themselves, they're not going to have the ability to see yours. If a person can't see what they're worth, they're not going to know what you're worth. If a person can't see themselves worthy of love and respect, they're not going to see you as being worthy of love and respect. If a person can't appreciate happiness and joy, they're not going to understand or value your happiness or joy. You have to understand this because when you start to understand your worth and your value and your place in your life, you're going to start to be able to find purpose. And when you find purpose, you find meaning and you find life in everything you do. Even the things that you say, this is not something that I would like to be doing, but I understand this thing that I'm doing is taking me somewhere. I understand there literally the science shows that when we do the things that we don't want to do, there is a physical reward to the brain and the longevity of life. So we used to like before there was currency, before there was money, before there was somebody to say, hey, I'm going to give you money for this job you do, we worked. We worked because that's what being alive meant. We worked because every day required for us to get up and to achieve in order to remain alive, in order to just stay alive. There was work to be done. And so we worked. There was no paycheck. There were no TVs. There were no things. And so for on a regular basis, you had to get up and go to do the things that needed to be done when there was no motivation. It required discipline. And when you put challenges in front of yourself, challenges that require for you to be disciplined, challenges that require for you to be engaged, excuse me, and focused on your development, when you seek those out, you find growth and you find development. People, I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you as we go into 2026 to understand that there is a value. You have a value. You are important. And when you understand that you have a value and that you are a person of importance and that you matter, others will also start to see that. And you will find yourself in the presence of and in the interaction of those who know their value, who can see your value, and you'll start to grow. No, we're not destined to be here forever, but we are required to make the most of the time here. Don't lament. Don't be sad. Don't cry. Don't worry. You have to, excuse me, we have to enjoy this experience. We have to live this experience to its fullest. We have to, people. We have to. We can't continue. Excuse me, I'm trying to straighten out this camera. We can't continue to find fault and difficulty and blame and everything to do. Talking about understanding your value and purpose. It's important to know your value. It's important to know your worth, because when you know your value and you know your worth, then you can set direction in your life. How you doing this evening? It is now 12:22 in the morning. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Thank you for participating in this walk and sit at the moment. I'm in the car. It is a little chilly out, but also my gimbal needed to charge. And so, how are you guys doing? How are you guys been? Please remember, as you check in, please drop in down below in the chat where you're checking in from, what time of day it is, where you are, if it's morning, evening, or night. But it's great to have you guys here. I want to thank you for being here and for participating. Thank you for sharing. There is a requirement, as I shared with the channel this morning, setting up a brokerage account to allow for you guys to follow this year as we move $50 a week into the brokerage account. The $50 boils down, excuse me, to $10 every weekday. Doing that is going to be somewhere around $2,600 in a year, but also any donations made to the channel during that time will also be deposited to help make that grow. So you guys can see how the investment and the development of the investment of your money and putting your money to work and making your money work for you continues to grow. Thank you again. And that is Eddie. Thank you again, Eddie, for the gift. And so if it says 11 a.m., where are you checking in from, Mitter? 12:23 a.m. in New York, up top, indeed. 9:23 out in Seattle. What's the weather like out there, guys? I know it is chilly here. It's not as cold as it was the other morning, but it's still cold. It says it's 28 degrees outside this vehicle right now. The the purpose and the reason I say it's important for you to know your worth, the reason it's important for you to know your value is because when there is a limited opportunity, right? When we have constrained opportunities to work on our purpose, and we have a limited amount of time to work on it, we can't continue to sit around in spaces where we're not valued and we're not appreciated. If you don't believe you're valued on your job, you don't believe you're appreciated on your job, make changes. You don't believe you're valued in your relationships, you don't believe you're appreciated in your relationships, make changes. Not all of these things are going to be easy to do, but it's a requirement for us to truly sit down and say, hey, I know what I'm worth. I know my value. I know the importance of me. When we know those things, we do the things required for us to be able to excel in that space in order for us to be able to find the right energy and investments to put in what we're doing. 2026, we got to get it together. Have to start to do it. We have to be diligent and on top of it and in time and knowing our value, and stop allowing for others to tell you because you're focused on doing something to develop you that you're in some way neglecting them, because you're moving in a certain direction at a certain speed that you are in some way uh, disavowing or not acknowledging them. Your growth, as they say, you have to put the mask on you first. You got to save yourself before you can save anybody else. And so part of that is knowing that you're worth saving. See, you have to understand your value. So many people are so quick to say, hey, man, I'm prepared to sacrifice myself. It's because you don't understand the value of what sacrificing yourself does. You don't understand the value and the worth of you in the lives of the people who are important to you in your life, in your own life. If you haven't found that your value and your purpose and your reason, and you don't know what that is, it's going to be difficult for you to find a purpose or a reason to invest anywhere else. You don't believe your life has value. You don't believe your future has value. Why would you set aside money? Why would you start investing? Why would you take the time to be disciplined? Why would you care about your diet? Why would you care about your fitness? You don't. You're not going to, because you haven't found worth in you. And then we walk out into the world, we go out into the public, and we go in on these jobs and we say, well, this person doesn't value me. My employer doesn't value me. They don't care about me. Do you care about yourself? Do you care about yourself to stop long enough to take care of you? Are you working on you? Are you thinking about you? Are you considering all the areas of you? We often have people who come in and talk about their spiritual being. They talk about their financial situations. They talk about a whole lot of things, but there are a lot of aspects of you. There's your mentality. There's your knowledge, there's your emotion, there's your physical. There are so many aspects of you that need to be nourished on a regular basis. And if you don't care enough about you to take care of you, how are you going to keep asking other people to consider and care for and to tend to and to acknowledge the things that you're not taking care of for yourself? You're asking somebody to pay you more money and then they watch what you do with your money. I don't know how many people here have ever gone up for a management or a leadership role in large companies in the United States. But you know what they do when you go for a management role, especially if you're working in retail? You know what they ask you for? They ask you for a credit check. Let's check your money. In part, they say, let's check your money to see if you're in any debt, to see if you're at risk of stealing from us. But the main thing it is say, hey, you want to be a leader of this store? You want to be in control of the money, the investments, where it goes, and what the return is on those investments. And then we look in your life and you don't pay your credit cards on time. You don't pay for your car on time. You have money that is just bleeding out of your life and you don't know where it's going, and you want to take over. You can't handle the $80,000 a year that you're getting into your life, and you want us to put $8 million a year into your hand. These are the things that comes with knowing your worth. knowing who you are. When you learn that, when you learn what you're worth and you learn your value, you change your direction. Like if you already know what it is, then you walk confidently. You walk with your head held high. You appreciate every moment because you understand that you're of value. You understand that you have a purpose and a meaning to your existence. Thank you again, Eddie. Once you start to understand that, once you really start to see what that means to truly know your value and to be able to work within that and develop your life, you're going to see a lot of great things for yourself. You see opportunities that otherwise you may have missed, may not have been available to you. But that's not a concern when you start to understand your value. You want to know a major place where a lot of people miss out on their value? You want to know a big place where lots of people just absolutely do not take advantage of their own lives, their own value, is in their personal interactions with others. Because you don't know what you're deserving of. You don't know what to expect. If you don't know what to expect and what to look for out of something to be valuable and loving, then you take what's given to you. And then when it doesn't feel good to you, you don't know what to ask for. You don't know how to correct it. You got to get up and love yourself. I care about me. I love myself enough to get up because I know if there's nothing else to do, so many people don't get up unless they got a job to go to. Oh, I just want to lay down and sleep. So many people don't get up unless they have responsibilities to someone else. We have to get up in the morning, we have to get started, and we have to understand that we are enough reason to get up. You are enough reason to climb up out of your bed, to get out of wherever you are and get started with working on you. If you can't find value and reason in doing it for yourself, stop expecting others to return or be reciprocal with that type of care, with that type of emotion, with that type of connection. You can't expect somebody to care for you and you don't care for yourself. That's not fair to even ask them to do so. It's not fair to ask somebody to invest in you in a way that you're not prepared to invest in yourself. See, oftentimes we are very quick to check other people. Man, don't you treat me like that. Don't you say nothing like that to me. Don't you put, like, ain't nobody gonna put me down. But then we won't check ourselves. We put ourselves down. We demean ourselves. We have to change that. We have to do better. We have to understand that in order for us to set any expectations for anyone else, we must first set expectations for ourselves. We must first say, man, I expect for me to get up and to perform. I expect for me to put in time and energy. I expect for me to do the job and do it at a high level. Man, if you can't set expectations, you can't have any accountability. You can't hold yourself accountable if you don't expect anything from yourself. Everybody want to set a New Year's resolution. New Year's resolutions are vague. Oh man, there's no detail to it. I just want to make sure that I'm more active this year. More active in comparison to what? Now you got a whole year to not be active, trying to figure out what it means to be more active. We need to be specific. We need to care enough about ourselves to stop and think about the results and the capability of what we can do. Got to do it, people. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for stopping in. I want to give you guys a look at what it's like up here at the top of the hill. As always, guys, when you check in, let me know where you're checking in from, what time of day it is where you are. It is now well past my bedtime. It is 12:35 in the morning here in the Northeast. Thank you guys for being here. Is life worth living? 100%. You'll get out of anything what you're willing to put into it. You will, but you have, and that's the point, guys. It is. I don't know who JT is, but thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you again for the gift, Eddie. Thank you guys for your support. Man, I'll let you know this. It's difficult to find motivation for everything, which is why you have to have purpose and you have to have reason. And that comes from worth. That comes from understanding. Why do you think gas prices keep going up and we keep paying for gas? Because we've given gas value. It's how I get to where I'm going. It's how I move my car. It's how I get to work. And so that thing has value to us. So we're willing to exchange to have it. We're willing to give money in order to have it. Right? So are we prepared to do the same thing for ourselves? Do we see enough value in ourselves to respond the same way? Glad I was able to help out. What's that? My pox? I just turned your first birthday. I tell you what, your alliteration and typing is impeccable to be 1 year old. We do seek first the kingdom of God. But we have to understand after we do that, and here's the thing, guys, and here's the thing. We all have different callings, right? If you believe in your calling and you believe in your space and where you're supposed to be and living in that calling, we all have different callings. And because we have different callings, because we have a different expectation of where we're going to be, because all of these things are relevant to who we are and our makeup and what we are, then that's a part of understanding our worth. And when we start to live in our calling, we give meaning to things that may have otherwise not seemed to be so meaningful or purposeful. That's ridiculous. I feel like sometimes y'all just be typing words in there. You want to surround yourself. So it's you don't really have to, it's not as much about surrounding yourself. It's that thing I said earlier about knowing your worth. When you know your worth, you're going to get up and put yourself in the spaces that you need to be. And when you're in the spaces that you need to be in enough, the other people who are like you and who are going to look to support that will be in those spaces as well. So you don't need to disappear. You don't need to come back stronger in 3 years. You don't need to do any of those things. You don't need to spend 90 days locked in your basement. You need to spend your life focused on doing what's right for your life, doing what's right for you. Worth in what? What's the question, Eddie? He said, I'm Jewish and I still can relate. Indeed. Know your worth, do what you love. Right. See, and when you know your worth and you do what you love, what that means, what you're saying right there, Eddie, is this. You're saying, hey, I know my time is valuable. I know my time is valuable to me. I know the things that I enjoy. I know how often I want to do them. I know how I want to do them, where I want to do them. And so, because that matters to me, I'm going to set an expectation for others to respect that. Right. So,
I'm worth that. You want to be in my life? You want to be a part of my life? Good. I appreciate that. Don't go around asking nobody to give up what is important to their life to be in your life, right? And here's the thing, we're not in the position to say what's good or bad for somebody else's life. See, it's a double edged sword because if there's someone out there and they say, hey, this is the life I want to live, this is what's important to me, this is who I want to be, this is how I want to be, we have to get to a point where we have to just understand, hey, man, I have to accept that. I have to understand that that is your life and I have to live mine. And when we live our life the way that we are expected to see the return for us and for our happiness, then we start seeing growth. Any advice for black men in their 20s? The same advice I'm giving everyone else right now. Are there any specific concerns with being black in 20? You don't hang with unmotivated and work hard toward those goals you have. Yeah, you shake them off. Like that's not even hard. Like if you're motivated, listen, it's funny. I told my son, I was like, look, if you want to do something, start doing it. And then tell your friends that's what you're doing in that time frame. And then if they want to talk to you or they want to see you, they either have to see you within the time frame outside of that, or they have to join you in that time frame. And then you'll start to see which one of those people, one, value the friendship, but two, value that thing that you're doing, right? Unmotivated people, people who don't have drive, people who don't want to see what you want to see, who don't have the appreciation of the work, don't want to do the same investment. You don't have to get away from them. You don't have to get them away from you. They're just going to stop being where you are. Here's how I put it. If you used to go down to the corner every day and hang out, and your friends were there and they hung out, and then you say, I want to read more, I want to broaden my knowledge on a specific subject, and to get there, I have to make a right when everybody makes a left. When everybody turns left to go to the corner, I have to turn right to get to the library. You're not separating yourselves from them. You're not hiding from them. You're not disappearing. You're just focusing on that thing. You're not trying to take anything away. You're just focused on the thing that's important to you, to getting to where you want to be, right? And when you start to focus on that thing, you see yourself more. You start to see what it is that you're trying to do and trying to achieve. Give me a moment, guys. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. All right, there we go. It's important, guys, to know, as this is all about, is knowing your worth. Recently, because I wanted something better. Okay, like what you did is you recently started a journey towards something better in your life. And once you started that journey towards something better in your life, you simply started moving in that direction. You don't have to break away from your old friends to achieve that. Your old friends just aren't traveling that path. You don't even have to stop being their friend. You just have to maintain your understanding of your worth and your value and continue to work towards it. Continue to be committed to it. Continue to be a part of who you need to be and go where you need to go. See, everyone, quite often, people want to try to, people want to try to make what you do a attack on them, right? Oh, So, and this is, and even people who say, hey, man, I'm trying to be successful, have a tendency to do the same. We cannot tell others that them taking care of themselves is them not acknowledging or not taking care of us, right? I'll make it real simple. Let's put it, for most of us here, we drive, right? And for those of us who do drive, when we go out and we're on the road and we're driving and there is a car that cuts us off. When that car cuts us off, there is a belief that this individual is trying to hurt us by doing so. That's not true. That's not what's happening. What's happening is this individual is trying to get somewhere. And because this individual is trying to get somewhere, they moved quickly and they may have moved into your lane, but don't assume just because somebody has moved into a space that that you're traveling into that they're intentionally trying to prevent you from getting where you're going. No more than when you walk into a store and they have the last of whatever special food it is that you like, that when you get it and you buy it, you're not trying to buy it to prevent somebody else from having it. You're just trying to get it so you can have it. So just because you're doing something to help yourself doesn't mean that you're looking to do something to hurt others. That's going to be really important. Positive will always outweigh the negative, guys. Always. I want to thank you guys for being here. Um, I want to thank you for dropping in. You can't tell me what to say in my own feed. Come on, man. Like, that's ridiculous. But I want to thank those of you who have stopped in. If you haven't had an opportunity yet, please tap like, subscribe, or share. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. It doesn't cost you anything. Also, if you would like to drop a gift or a donation on the channel, it's greatly appreciated. It will go towards this year's fund of depositing $50 a week into the brokerage account. For those of you who are members, you will be able to watch that and follow that as we go throughout the year. So we'll be doing $10 a day into the brokerage account. We'll be starting this Monday, January 5th in that process. And for those of you who are members, you'll get a closer look at where we do the investments, how that grows, and how that continues to build. It's interesting. But people, today's conversation, what we're talking about this morning, what I'm sharing is simply about being able to understand that when it becomes time for us to go out and do things in our lives, we have to understand our own worth and our own value. Not knowing that worth, not knowing that value sets us back because we're constantly looking at other people to see if they can help define for us how much we should be worth or what we should be doing. Thank you very much for subscribing. We're going through a process constantly of trying to find some way to evaluate our worth in comparison to what other people think about who we are. We need to be able to move away from that. We need to have a firm grasp and an understanding that our value is tied to who we are, what we know of ourselves, and how we move ourselves forward. It's important to know that through this process, we can grow and develop ourselves. And those around us, those that truly want to be and want to see better things, will do so as well. Again, this isn't about running away from anyone. It's about making sure that we are running towards the life that we want to live. It is late, guys. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna be heading in soon. Uh, we're talking about knowing yourself. We're talking about understanding your value. We're talking about knowing whether or not you care enough about yourself to take care of yourself in a way that you would ask others to take care of you. And it's important. It's truly important, guys, because until you learn to care for yourself and take care of yourself, it's going to be really difficult for you to do it for others. It's going to be really challenging for any one of us to go out into a situation and say, hey, I'm prepared to share myself. I'm prepared to share my understandings and share my positions in situations where we are not fully understanding of our own value and what about ourselves we want to share. What about ourselves we are truly proud of, how we value ourselves, how we respect ourselves, and how we treat ourselves. Back in the car, guys. Get a little heat. Thank you very much. Always look to be inspiring and motivating. I want to thank you guys who have come to support and to be here, be a part of the chat. I really appreciate it. I like that quote a lot, Eddie. It's a great quote. You can't. You got to get yourself together. If you want to put yourself in a position to be able to help and care for others, you have to already have put yourself in a position to take care of yourself. You do. Happy New Year. Welcome in. If you haven't done so yet, guys, please like, subscribe. Just a couple of taps doesn't take long, doesn't cost you anything. And if you'd like to contribute to the channel and this continued growth, I greatly appreciate that as well. Guys, one of the things that we want to understand about ourselves, our growth this year, 2026, and there will be more focus on finance as the year goes along. We have to understand that we're worth it. We have to understand that it's going to take time and that we're going to have to invest in it. We have to first learn to invest in ourselves. It's going to take discipline. It's going to take repetition. Repetition is coupled with patience. We cannot do anything consistently if we have not first learned the skill or the ability to use the talent. And then once we do that, we get ourselves to a point where we're capable of moving on to consistency. And consistency is where we start to set a plan and then grow from there. How are you doing? Welcome in. I understand it's late at night, guys. And I know because of the time of day that it is, that there will be. I'm the only moderator. I do apologize if some things pop up before I get a chance to take them down, guys. I do not have a moderator in other places. But I do want you guys to know, just in case something silly shows up, I'm moderating on my own. I'm trying to get rid of the ridiculousness as quickly as possible. I don't know. I haven't ridden a dirt bike in many years. In the area that I grew up in, out in Prince George's County, Maryland, we used to have an area called the Dunes. Uh, and the Dunes are gone now, but when we were growing up, we would ride dirt bikes back there all the time. So loved them, really enjoyed them when I was younger. Uh, what's that question again, Brian? Do what about one thing? 11 p.m. Welcome in, Christina Z, 8280. Okay. I mean, do what you feel is best. Urban development. Yeah, they built them out. Like it was, dude, it was so cool. But yeah, they built them out, man. Suburban sprawl, dude. like, like the world's gonna grow. Um, that's how it is. Yeah. So, guys, it is now. It's close to 1 o'clock in the morning. I thank so many of you for being here. Um, what? Pay the phone bill? I mean, what type of question is that? If you're thinking about it, then pay it. Like we must eliminate ridiculousness. Thank you so much. One of the things that has to be understood, guys, is so when we look at taking steps, when we look at all the things that we're going to do this year, one of the things that is going to be important is developing that discipline. Once we develop the discipline and we start developing a plan to build towards something, when we do that, that consistency will be measured in that space. And once we start to learn to measure that consistency, it is from that point and the measuring of the consistency that we move into perseverance. Because just because we're working hard and just because we're consistent, just because we're continuing to invest in our own development doesn't mean it's going to happen instantly. And perseverance, what makes perseverance different from patience is the process of learning and developing that skill. Perseverance is the process of continually putting in the time on that thing, even when the return isn't as high or as quickly as you would like for it to see or like for it to be. Again, I started this channel back in January the 7th of this year. Um, and It was just a way for me when going through a tough time to just kind of ground myself in behaviors and activities that would be sound and strong. Yeah, just January 7th of last year. But I'm about the channel will be at about a year old next week sometime. But like the process of development and growth that I've seen during that time, and for those of you who have been here and supported me through it, through the death of my stepdad, through the challenge of getting myself back together, just gathering my thoughts and understanding the growth. I really want to say thank you for everyone who's been here during that time. And I appreciate you as I've continued to grow. And as this channel continues to grow, I just want to make sure that I'm continuing to share correctly and continue to be inspirational and motivational. Bryant, 5-year goal. I want to complete my education. I want to have kids, and I want to be able to perhaps ultralight fan glider to fly, perhaps an ultralight. Okay, that's good. You got the broad goal, 5 years. As you work on it, you're going to start to find areas where it's going to become more and more detailed. That's a great plan. Um, no, I don't have stray kids. I just have a lot of kids. um, all right, daydreamer. See you. You're in what place? Um, Drugs are not a good way to spend your time. Preach. Uh, do I know stray kids? I don't even know what that means. But guys, again, I cannot stress more that it's important to understand our value, know our worth. As we start to move and talking about our finances, and we start taking a look at the true meaning of money. And one of the things we have to understand is that the purpose of money is to make more money. Once we start to put things in their appropriate place, they start to make more sense and they start to work better. Needed to stand fully in my power, have to stand in it. And so, as we move forward, one, we want to do this with ourselves, which is why I say you have to know your worth, you have to know your value, because it's in that place when you know your worth and you know your value, you understand why you make the investments. You understand the investment of getting good rest. You understand the investment of exercising. You understand the investment of growing your knowledge. It's not something that's just tedious, something that feeds and edifies you and strengthens you. And then when you can relate that to yourself, relating that to your finances is simple, because money was not meant to be held. Money was not meant to be saved. Money was meant to build. The creation of currency was for nations to build and expand. That was why currency was created. They put it into the hands of the people, knowing that people would bring it back and they would have a way to tax. And so now, when you understand that money is meant for trading, because you trade it all the time. You trade your time for money where you work. You trade your money for food. You trade your money for televisions. You trade your money for gas. And so, if money is meant to trade, the best thing to trade money for is more money. And when you understand the purpose of money, when it's truly put to its purpose, is you seed it, it makes more money. Now, don't fall into these traps. And a lot of people fall into these traps of the church saying, put your money in the church and watch God bless it and bring it back to you. Listen, you got to strengthen your relationship. You got to strengthen your relationship and your understanding of the scriptures so that you know when you put your money in God's hand, it's not the physical money that God's looking for. It is the investment of your growth, not the investment of your earnings. Tithes were not taking from what you earned. Tithes were taking from what was the gain over what you earned. Does that make sense? So when you go back and you start to understand how tithes were done, tithes were you planted your crops, you brought in what you needed to feed your family, you brought in what you needed to be able to store up, and then when you had the additional, so this is how much I planted, this is the expectation of return, this is what we needed, we have that, and now what's left over, we're going to give a portion of that overage, that profit, we're going to give a portion of that to the Levites, it's to the church to take care of those who intercede for us. Have to understand that it's not just about taking 10% of the money you make and dropping it into some basket and hoping that it comes back and blesses you in some way. You have to understand that it is not in any way intended to hurt the church, right? It's not intended to hurt the church, to help yourself. Don't keep dropping money in this basket and your credit cards aren't getting paid. Don't keep dropping money into these baskets and you haven't learned and earned the discipline necessary to make sure that your lights ain't getting turned off. Don't keep taking these steps and doing these things if, again, you have to know your worth. And when you're worth it, you invest in it. And when you invest in you, it's easy for you to go out and invest in others. It's easy to go out and invest in other places. Trade school, once I move states to my new place in a couple of months. 2026 is indeed going to be great. Raise my self esteem in certain areas, forgiving myself for not knowing my value. That's a great place to start, Christina. Great place. Thank you guys so much for being here. Uh, man. I don't have a problem with Charlie Kirk. That was just a ridiculous statement. How are you doing, Sok? One of the things that's going to have to be really big, guys, and I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you guys again taking the time to stop in. If you haven't done so yet, please double tap, drop a thumbs up or a like. It really goes a far way. If you'd like to contribute to the channel, you can also do that here, and it'll go towards the fund that we're building in this year's investment. As you check in, guys, let me know where you're checking in from, what time of day it is, where you are. Always like to make sure that we're keeping track of the different areas where we have reach and where we can speak to. It is now 1:05 in the morning, guys. Thank you for being here. I'm here on the East Coast of the United States. There is a there is a major need for us to understand our worth, our value, and the investments in ourselves in order to be able to do it in other places. Uh, Phoenix, 11 p.m. in Phoenix. Welcome in, Phoenix. Thank you so much. Oh, that's Christina. All right, Daydreamer. That is, wow. That it's flat and hot out in Phoenix. Is it hot now or does it get cold in the winter there? Uh, Streaming from up here in Maryland, Northeast, Northern Maryland. It's cold here. Welcome in. Hi, how are you doing? And so, as I said before, one of the focuses is going to be as we continue to go through this year, and not only just working on developing discipline, just to be disciplined in the areas where we need to be disciplined. You do not have to beg, just speak. If you just speak, like you're more likely to get for me to say your name. Zon, Florida, welcome in 106. And so when we start talking about the investment into money, when we start moving into that space, this discipline is going to be necessary. This understanding of the value is going to be necessary. And the reason it's going to be necessary is that's the place where we're going to start to see where investing money and how money's purpose is to make more money. With this discipline over time, we can watch that grow. And then we do not have to continue to fall into these spaces where we are not seeing the development and the building of our future the way we would like to. Such a hard time with time management on off days. Have to fix that because your days where you're not going to exchange money are going to exchange your time for currency, Chris, Christina, on those days where you're not going into a job to exchange time for money, you are solely committed to living your life. And those times are the ones that are most important. And like businesses, and I understand what you're saying because we all need to take a time to write a schedule and to be able to segment our time. Companies do it. When you work for a company, they say, I need you here at this time, here at this time, here at this time, because they understand how that structure and that schedule of your time helps them to be efficient, to grow, and to be good with what they do. However, when we're talking about our own life, we have to start to run our life like a business. Our time has to matter to us, right? If your time doesn't matter to you, don't be mad when they ask you if you can stay another hour, right? The company will ask you to stay another hour or work over a weekend. They'll ask you to do those things in a snap, and they'll do it because they're looking at it and they're saying to themselves, "Hey, you ain't doing nothing with your time. Let us give you $30 for it. Let us give you $50 to get another hour of it." And so that's why we have to start to understand our time is worth way more than $50, way more than $100, way more than $200, way more than $500 an hour. When we start to truly see our worth and our value, and we can understand, because everyone agrees money can't buy you happiness, right? Everyone agrees that the love of money is the root of all evil. And so if we understand this and we can appreciate that, then we start to find happiness and joy in the people around us and the things that we do. And then it's easy for us to take money and put money to work for us. And when we put our money to work for us, it gives us more time to spend time with the people we love, doing the things we want to do when we want to do it. See, there's this belief that building money so that you can enjoy your life is a bad thing. We're going to have to break that. You keep coming here and I'm going to break your brain over that. That's not what it is it's intended to do. If you got a little side hustle, if you make $30 an hour, that means every 10 hours you make $300. If you make $300 every 10 hours and you come up with a side hustle that makes you $300 in a year, that's all it makes you is $300 in a year, you get a whole nother day off work. You get a whole nother day where you can say, hey, I don't even need to take paid time off. My hustle is paying for my little work that I would be doing and what I would be earning from you. My hustle is paying for that. So I can now take this time to spend it with the people I want to spend it with, doing what I want to do. Those are the types of things that we have to look at and we have to start to appreciate and enjoy. HD, but I definitely do need to come up a solid schedule. Schedules really help, especially with people who have ADHD. My wife and I both have that same challenge. Having that schedule allows for you to, one, be able to check things off. There's a dopamine return for that. But two, it also gives you the ability to be able to make sure you're not staying in something too long. Zahn, recently started journaling, trying to plan out my off days. Indeed. And here's the thing, don't over plan your days off. Don't overstuff it. For a lot of people, that's one of the major challenges is they start planning their days off and they try to cram so much into it. Right? Oh, I have to do everything. I have to do 20 like every minute has to be filled. And that's that ADHD thing that feels like you're the I think people with ADHD are the original FOMOs, right? We're the original people that we're missing out on something. So we're constantly trying to be doing something to make sure we're not missing anything. And so one of the things you have to understand is when you have ADHD, one of the biggest things that's difficult for a person with ADHD to do is to chill. Like chilling is a challenge. And so sometimes, and this is something that I've shared constantly, repeatedly with my wife, and something that I share with my children as well. If you create a schedule, you're going to find that you have more time to actually sit down and just appreciate yourself. It's okay to sit down and say, hey, I'm worth this moment. Because what a lot of people will do is they'll run themselves ragged, run, and then they'll plan out 20 hours, like no direct plan, but they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to the store. I have to stop past this. I told my friend I go do that. I'm gonna pick this up. I'm gonna clean that up in the kitchen. I told him later I was gonna do this. And then you find out that you have 20 hours of plan and you only have 16 hours a day to work with. And so that plan should include, hey, this is some time for me to sit down and be able to relax. And that should go a long way for people. It should really help with growth. It should help with development. And that is going to be, again, part of what we're doing this year. It's part of this growth, not specifically for having ADHD, but just understanding that making a plan, living your life like a business, writing out a schedule, and setting expectations for yourself is a good thing. It's not a bad thing to understand that you have something that you're trying to accomplish and that you're working towards. Needed this live stream bag. God bless you. God bless you as well. Thank you very much for being here, guys. Thank you very much for taking the time to stop in. As always, guys, these Walker Talks are designed to be positive, to provide motivation, but keep in mind we have to work with discipline. Discipline has four pillars, people. The four pillars of discipline. It's going to start with repetition, which is just getting up and doing that thing, followed by patience. Repetition and patience is how that thing starts to be trained. It starts to become a skill. And then you have to use consistency with that skill, which requires for you to make a plan to show growth and work towards a goal. And then once you do that, it's all about persevering, continuing to do that work as you continue to grow, understanding that it's not going to happen overnight. And when you do that, whether you're working on yourself, you're working on your finances, or you're working on a relationship, as you continue to work towards mastery, you're guaranteed to see success along the way, guys. Guaranteed. Favorite color.
Thank you very much for stopping in. Um, Not really sure favorite color question is area that we're going to broach on these walk and talks. Um, no problem. Thank you so much for being here. As I said, definitely drop some gems. So glad you guys were able to be here to check in and be a part. We'll recommend it. Channel to friends. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of the help. Please like, subscribe, share. Continue to come back. Look forward. We'll be here. We'll continue to grow, use positivity, continue to look towards development of self, development of community, and development of others, guys. It's always a pleasure for you to be here. As I said, always, guys, until the next time I see you, I'm going to head in. I'm going to get some rest, join my family before I have to get back up again. So, as always, guys, keep showing up, keep blowing up, keep growing up. Until next time, you guys take care. God bless.